What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel, and our 2023 college football predictions continue for the 2023 college football season. Up next are the Maryland Terrapins, a team coming off a pretty decent season last year. They went 8-5 overall in 2022. This was pretty much one of the dark horse contenders in the Big Ten East from last year. Looking at this Maryland team heading into 2023, I think they're going to be really good this year. I think they're going to have the offense to score a lot of points this year. You got Talia Tagovailoa, your veteran quarterback, coming back this year. And you also got some talented running backs for Maryland. You got some guys that are going to have to want to step up here, in the running game. I think the passing game is going to be the big strength, though, to this Maryland team. What concerns me, though, about this Maryland team is the defense. I think the defense is kind of, laid back a little bit. I think they're going to probably take a step back from where they were last year. But if this Maryland team can get their defense going, Maryland has a chance to be a pretty dangerous team heading into 2023. Here's the schedule for them. They play Townsend, Charlotte, Virginia in the non-conference, and then you look at who they play outside of the Big Ten East. They'll play Illinois, Northwestern, and Nebraska on the road. So you got Northwestern and Nebraska on the road. Very tough road games there, but overall not that tough of a schedule. I mean, yes, you do play Michigan State, Ohio State, and Michigan on the schedule, and Penn State, but overall they still don't have a really tough schedule, I believe, for this year. But let's go game by game now and give you an official prediction for this Maryland team. So you got two non-conference games to start out the year for 2023 here in the month of September. Townsend and Charlotte. I think these are pretty easy wins here for Maryland. I think they don't really struggle in these games. I think these are two games where they should score probably about 30 or 40 points in both of these games. So I think Maryland starts out 2-0 heading into 2023 here with 2 wins over Townsend and Charlotte. They should start out 2-0 easily. Then they'll play Virginia here on September 16th. This is a big non-conference game here against Virginia, but Virginia wasn't that good last year, and I kind of don't expect them to be all that good this year. I'm not really too concerned about Maryland heading into this game, especially with home field advantage. I don't think this game is all that close this year. I think, if it was on the road here for Virginia and they had them players from last year, I kind of would predict Virginia here to win it, but I think Virginia is a team that just has a lot of question marks. Hard to tell how good they're going to be. So I think Maryland gets the win here over Virginia pretty easily, and I got Maryland starting out 3-0. Then it's Michigan State on the road here to open up Big Ten play on September 23rd. Michigan State's a team now that I'm kind of concerned with heading into 2023. Not just the offense, it's just the quarterback position. Peyton Thorne transferred away from Michigan State, so it's hard to tell how good this team will be, but this is a road game for Maryland. I kind of expect a shootout here between Maryland and Michigan State. However, it's a coin flip game. It was a 50-50 game for me back when I did my projections earlier in the year. So this one is a close one for me. With that being said, I'm going to go with home field advantage here. Michigan State, I think, gets it done here in a close one over Maryland. And I think Maryland gives, Michigan State will give them their first loss of the season. So I got Maryland losing that one on the road at Michigan State. That puts their record at 3-1. Next game at home against Indiana on September the 30th. Indiana's a team that's not been good in the last couple years. I think they'll be more competitive this year, but it's just hard to tell how good this team is going to be. They're kind of, like Virginia, but I think Indiana will be more competitive in this game. But end of the day, though, I think Maryland does win here pretty easily. I think maybe Indiana gives them a scare in the first half. Second half, I think Maryland pulls away on that offense. So I got Maryland beating Indiana here on September the 30th, and that puts their record at 4-1. Next game on the road at Ohio State. This is a game that was really close last year. It was a shootout here. Maryland had an opportunity there in the fourth quarter to win this game. It would have been a huge shocker if Maryland did beat Ohio State. But Ohio State did survive at the end of the day. This year's game is on the road for Maryland. This is a game I don't really see being all that close. I think Ohio State's defense is going to really shut down this Maryland offense. I think Ohio State's offense will be ready for this one as well. So with that being said, I think the Buckeyes win this one pretty easily and give Maryland their second loss of the season. Illinois at home on October the 14th. This is the next game for Maryland. This is a team that I think will be more competitive than Indiana. I think I just said Indiana will compete in the first half, but second half Maryland will pull away. I think this game is going to be pretty close. I think Illinois is a team that can have a really good shot to knock off Maryland in this game. However, it's a home field advantage type game for Maryland and obviously a coin flip game for me. With that being said, I think Maryland wins this one with home field advantage with the home crowd behind them. So I'm going with Maryland here to knock off Illinois. That puts their record at 5-2. They get a bye week after that game. They'll play Northwestern on the road. And I think that's a pretty good spot for a bye week if you're Maryland, especially heading into a tough road game against Northwestern. Northwestern's a team that's kind of similar, to Indiana, a team that, was terrible last year. I mean, we just did not expect Northwestern to be all that terrible last year. However, I think Northwestern could keep this game close. I just don't know how good this Northwestern team is going to be. It's hard to predict against them when you're playing a road game, but it's just hard to predict a team that went, 1-11 last year. And with that being said, I think Maryland gets the win here on the road at Northwestern. I think the bye week kind of helps them out as well, so I think that offense will be ready to score a lot of points against this Northwestern defense. So I'm going with Maryland here to knock off Northwestern on the road. That puts their record at 6-2. Then they'll play Penn State here on November the 4th. Home game here for Maryland. If you saw my Penn State video a long time ago, I did predict an upset here. I just think it's one of those upset alert type games. If Penn State was ranked in the top 5 somehow in the college football playoff rankings, I think you can count one of these games as an upset alert type game. I think you can count these as a shootout here as well. Penn State's is going to want to run the football in this game. They want to wear down that defense of Maryland's, and offensively, Maryland's going to want to pass the football. So I think we're kind of expecting a shootout here between Maryland and Penn State. However, Maryland does have home field advantage in this one, and this is what it makes it so tough to call when it's a shootout here. I'm going with Maryland here to knock off Penn State in an upset. So that puts Maryland's record at 7-2. I just think it's one of those upset alert type games. I know Penn State fans won't agree with that, but I think Maryland does win it here in a close one here over Penn State. Next game on the road at Nebraska. This is a tough place to play here for Maryland, especially after coming off a win against Penn State, a big win against Penn State. And Maryland could be sitting there, in the top 15 somehow and maybe a chance to win the Big Ten. Nebraska, though, is a team that probably can pull off an upset here. I did my Nebraska video already, and I already predicted an upset here for the Cornhuskers. I think this game is a shootout here between these two teams. Probably a low-scoring type game, though. I think Nebraska's defense is going to step up in this one and be ready for the passing game of Maryland. So with that being said, I'm going with Nebraska here to knock off Maryland here and give them their 3rd loss of the season. So I think that's an upset here. I think Maryland beats Penn State the last week, and then the next week they lose to Nebraska on the road, and that puts their record at 7-3. They play Michigan next here at home on November 18th. I think the game is kind of similar, to Ohio State last year when Maryland played Ohio State at home last year. I think they can keep this game close, but maybe in the first half, I think, it's a close one, but I think second half Michigan's defense will be ready for the, offense to be on the field. And I think Michigan's going to run the football here in this game. I think, playing on the road is going to be a tough one for the Wolverines, but I think, the running backs will start to step up in the second half. So I think Maryland does lose a pretty close one to Michigan here, and that puts their record at 7-4. So 2 straight losses to Nebraska and Michigan. But then they play Rutgers on the road on November 25th to end things out here. Rutgers is a team I don't expect to be all that good this year. I know they are a team in a program that's probably heading in the right direction, but I just don't see that happening. I think Maryland wins this one pretty easily on the road at Rutgers, and I think Maryland wins their final game of the season with that road game against Rutgers. And I got Maryland finishing with a record of 8-4 for 2023. I think that's a fair prediction for Maryland, especially how the schedule sets up. You got tough road games with Michigan State, Ohio State, and Nebraska, but don't sleep on that Northwestern game. I could very well see this team going 7-5. I think worst case scenario would probably be 6-6, especially a team that's coming off an 8-5 season last year. 9-3, I think is pretty possible for Maryland as well, but don't really sleep on those road games with Northwestern and of course the Rutgers. But I think Maryland will win that game on the road at Rutgers pretty easily, but Northwestern is a tough one for me. It's just hard to tell how good that team will be this year. But give me your thoughts on this Maryland team down in the comments below. What do you think their record is in 2023, and what do you predict will happen for their season heading into 2023? And stay tuned here for more sports content videos on the Lucas Ross Sports Channel.